Of Mount Vernon, Richard Thomas. Mayor,
Yes.
I always call you mayor because you've been my mayor since I met you, and
Yes.
so that's going to stick regardless if next time you'll be the governor or wherever you. I'm going to still call you Mayor Richard Thomas.
That's a
With
title.
respect.
That's a title I love, and I love my city, and it's been a dream of mine to become mayor from when I was a young kid. So I appreciate the accolade and the respect. So thank you.
Mayor, tell us about that dream. When did you actually aspire to be the mayor of the city where you were born, raised, grew up, went to school? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I first Merry Christmas, and hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. It's been a hard Christmas for people in Mount Vernon because of all the craziness that's happening. But when I was growing up, there was craziness happening back then too. There was a time where when I was in high school, about 8 of my friends were shot. Many of them, that succumbed to their wounds. And I just felt like, man, there has to be something better than just, kids killing kids. There has to be more. And this was a time where we had Memorial Field and we had programs, and it just seemed like there was something missing. And then I remember former Mayor Ernie Davis coming to school, looked real cool, had his dreadlocks, and, he was the boss. And I was like, man, that dude, I want to be like that. I want to be the mayor one day, pull up and be able to, assure people that we're going to take steps to address issues to make life better. And being on the receiving end of government, not doing enough to support my dad's business over many years, it kind of became clear to me that, you know what, maybe there's something in government that I can do to really make life better for other people. And that's when I said, you know what, I'd like to be mayor one day. And that's basically it. So Ernie Davis was one of the inspirations.
I'm sure that if I'm still around 20 years from now and interviewing a mayor in Mount Vernon 30 years from now, and I ask him that very same question, he's going to tell me, I saw Mayor Richard Thomas coming to my school.
I hope so.
And I thought, maybe I can be that
Yep.
a few years from now. So
Yep.
maybe you were inspiration to many, sir.
I hope so, because, look, Mount Vernon needs an inspiration right now, and I was inspired by many of the things that Ernie did in the past, and a lot of the good things he did, and that's where I draw my strength and my courage to kind of say, you know what, that's what's worth pursuing.
I always got along with the mayor, Ernie, you, Andre. I try to stay away from politics.
Oh man,
Look,
me too.
Okay, but I succeed. You can, because
Yeah, I know.
you're not a politician.
I'm in it.
You're in it.
Yeah.
So I always get along with all of them because I respect whatever they do. And I fully understand that no man is able to keep everybody happy.
Correct.
I don't. I have enough haters that follow me, but that's part of the business.
It is. It comes with the territory. But I will say, I'm happy to be here in Yonkers and have this schedule with you. I will, just looking outside, we're near City Hall, and I remember when I got into government, I was representing Governor Patterson at the time. There was a discussion. Phil Amicone was the mayor of Yonkers, and he was like, there's some things we want to do on the waterfront. There are things that we want to do, with the DMV parking lot, which is now a daylighted park.
Yes.
But they couldn't get anywhere with the bureaucracy at the state level. And I'll never forget working with then County Legislator Ken Jenkins to, make sure that his voice was heard at the highest levels so that we could push through these transformations in Yonkers. And here I am, a 26-year-old kid at the time representing the governor, pulling different groups of people together to help advance the vision of redeveloping Yonkers in a manner that included people. And I remember, Paul Adler, he's a very big figure here in Westchester and in the region. He had struggles at the time with CSX, MTA, the Department of Environmental Conservation. And I'm giving this a little bit of history because, when you look at what Paul did, he had a bold agenda to clean up the Yonkers waterfront, but he couldn't get government to listen. And I was very happy to play a role in pushing everybody to pay attention and make sure that they advanced the deal, because now Lionsgate is on the waterfront. Think about it.
Yep.
Many years later, it took time, but it had to start with one thing changing, cleaning up. And that's where I commend all the people here in Yonkers, the Spanos, Adler, Ken Jenkins, for all fighting to make sure that this came together. It looks great.
So you were here many years ago, like I've been in here for 40 years. And if we look at Yonkers today, we see no connection with the Yonkers of the past.
Correct.
It's a beautiful city.
Yep. It has a lot of potential, a lot of great things here.
But Mayor, before we go any further, guys, don't forget, if you are in the mood for a good Mexican food,
oh my goodness,
a place where you can meet good new friends, because we always have room for one more friend. If you want to come and mingle, have the Taco Tuesdays every Tuesdays, Dos Marias, 200 New Main Street is the place to go. There is no other place better than this for Mexican food, safe environment, funny environment where you meet good people. So come on down and sponsor our local businesses. It's important. Don't just talk about it, actually do something about it. Because we all can talk, let's support, but that don't mean nothing unless we actually do it.
That's right. So get your to-go drink here tonight. You got New Year's coming up tomorrow. So come on, guys, come out to Dos Marias.
Now let's move forward. Let's fast forward the tape.
Sure.
And get to Mt Vernon today.
Oh my goodness, Mt Vernon today.
Now, you've been in Mt Vernon for many years.
Yeah.
Is the Mt Vernon of today better than the Mt Vernon of yesterday? Or the same?
Under the current administration, the city has really gone backwards. And that's an empirical, categorical, absolute fact. You know, taxes are up over, I mean, just last year alone, she raised, the mayor, Sean Patterson Howard, raised taxes more than 30%. She introduced a sustainability fee on sewer, water, and sanitation. Meanwhile, there were no cost increases in any of those fronts. What did increase were the salaries inside City Hall. Many of the salaries in City Hall were doubled from what we can see in this budget that was passed, I believe, illegally this morning. But to answer your question, crime is up over 30%. Just yesterday, there was a shooting at 8 o'clock in the morning at a DPW garbage truck.
I was actually there, sir, yes.
Like, I'm rolling my eyes because it's like, how can, the city become shots per hour? It's ridiculous what's going on. You can't take your garbage out in the morning without being afraid of getting shot at. So you got to know that Mt Vernon has been really not just mismanaged, but it's been abused by the bad decisions being made by the administration, and heartless decisions at that.
Well, we have the name of the person who it's believed to be the target, but we are not going to release it because it might be under the investigation, and we don't want to interfere with anything. If PD did not release it yet, we maybe better stay away because we don't want to interfere. But it happened at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the morning, between 8 and 9, something like that. Time that kids are walking around because schools are out now.
Yep.
So when bullets have no name, but what scares me is that it looks like an employee of the city was the target. Is that an indicator that maybe there is problems with who they are hiring? Because this is a new hire, basically.
Yeah. I mean, look, it goes to show you that the city has not done enough to do, thorough checks on who they're bringing into the administration. And it goes to show you that there's a lot, or consequences, let me just say that. There are consequences to when you dismantle the police department, when you don't hire or pay the police the proper rate, when you disassemble units that are designed to, bring peace and safety to our streets. You're going to create a situation, an environment where people feel comfortable, criminals feel comfortable shooting at employees of the city or just regular people in the city at any time, which is unacceptable.
Since you touched on the police department, we know that the police department is still working without a contract. Okay. Now, when you were a mayor, they didn't have a contract either, did they? They got a raise, but they did not have a contract. What's the difference, Mayor?
So the biggest difference is vision, plan, and know-how. Mayor Sean Patterson Howard doesn't have a vision. She doesn't have a plan. and she doesn't have a clue on what to do. When I took over from former Mayor Ernie Davis, the fire department did not have a contract. The police department did not have a contract. And I made sure both departments got a contract immediately. And we put in place some of the best training and the best management models to make sure that they got the training they needed, and they also got the relationship built with the community so that when something did happen in Mount Vernon, we were able to at least have a relationship and a dialogue with the community so that we can resolve the issues. Today, the city was turned over at a time in 2019 where nobody in the city of Mount Vernon died by the hands of a gun. And that's the first time that happened in many years in Mount Vernon. So I just want to emphasize that when Mayor Sean Patterson Howard took over, the city was in great shape. The building department, it turned around permits in as short as one day, and I can only tell you that it's clear to me that the decision she made really dismantled the police department. It wasn't a defund mission, it was a dismantle decision that she made. And I'll give one example. Overweight trucks. In Mount Vernon, we have a huge industrial industry, and at times we have trucks that come into our community that do not have brakes, they don't have lights, they don't have insurance, they mess up our roads because they're so heavy, and there are signs all over the place that say a weight limit is on this street. So if there's a 10-ton weight limit on a street or a bridge and your truck is 20 tons, you deserve to get a ticket. But indiscriminately, they drive through Mount Vernon now without being ticketed, without being stopped, and that one unit alone generated $3 million from Mount Vernon. And that was just with a handful of people just strategically making sure that the roads were safe, and those dollars went toward the police. And that's how we were able to justify just one department, one example, there are many others, but that's how we were able to justify giving raises and contracts, because the police department and the fire department did their job. They protected the public.
We've been here a lot of Zoom, because we need to go from subject to subject, because
Yeah.
time, we don't have all day, okay, but we need to talk in as many subjects as possible.
Sure.
25 million still missing in the city of Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
What's your view on that, sir?
So for people that are watching and are not aware or what's going on about the $25 million that's totally unaccounted for in Mount Vernon. A few years ago, we had a controller that was in office that just caused massive havoc and trouble for our city. And when I blew the whistle and sought to, bring accountability, it fell on deaf ears. And even today, it's still falling on deaf ears that there's, gross mismanagement and possible theft of Mount Vernon's tax dollars that no one is doing anything about. So a state audit came out from New York State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli that found $178 million was misappropriated. Not only that, $25 million was wire transferred out, and they don't know why. So I just want to say that if you use Zelle, or if you use, Cash App, or any other digital type of payment system, you need to know the person's screen name or their ID to send them $50, $200, whatever you're going to send them. Apple Pay, you need to have that destination. They know where the money went. It was a wire transfer, very much like a Cash App payment. So my question remains, how come, first of all, the bank did not stop it when there was no authorized countersignature to the wire? And second of all, how come the state controller who flagged it, who said this happened without the mayor's signature, without my signature, it happened, and there's no accountability either for the controller, the former controllers in plural, and the bank that allowed this to happen. And also, there's one more point. The current mayor, this practice was continuing under her, and she did nothing to stop it at all. She just kind of sat back and watched it. And that's where I'm wondering, does she not know what she's doing? Is she covering for somebody? Or is she involved? Because $25 million is a lot of money.
Now, Mayor, let me interject here before people start saying, well, she's not here to defend herself. So let me point it out that this 25 million is not anything new. It's not something that we just found out.
Nope.
We have contacted her. I have personally spoken to Controller Deborah Reynolds, right? Mm-hmm. I personally spoke with her in her office, asking her to come on and explain this situation. She refused to come on. So all the opportunities were given to her to come and justify. I have nothing to say she did this or she did that. All that we could do is offer her an opportunity to clear and explain what or where did that money go.
Yeah.
But Mayor, can we blame the current mayor? Because you were mayor back then,
no.
and you couldn't do much either.
So this is the distinction. The answer is yes, you can, because when I was in office, I went and got court orders to force the bank to open the books and allow me to enforce the contract that we had with the bank. It took 4 years, but we got it done. And by the time I got to the bank, everybody remember this, the bank called the cops on me.
I remember that.
For asking questions about where's all this money going and why. I didn't authorize it. There's no legislation authorizing it, but yet they blocked me from seeing what's going on. You have not seen that happen from this mayor in office right now. She's been quiet, she's been consistent, and she's been clear on dismantling Mount Vernon. She shut down the senior center, she shut down major units in the police department, and she recently shut down the animal shelter. Even though she has money in the bank from the federal government, at least $42 million. So, all right, we have some money to work with, but the money, your retirement savings, if you're a Mount Vernon taxpayer, right, it's the equivalent to the city's retirement savings. $25 million was just taken away without authorization, and there are mechanisms to get it back, and she's not working to get it back, her nor the current controller, which to me raises serious questions.
This sounds like a conspiracy theory. Is it? Or do we have any basics and funds to believe that the current mayor might be involved in some wrongdoing? I'm not accusing. I'm just asking the questions.
You know, what I can tell you is it feels like the conspiracy is reality. And when you look at the situation of both the mayor and the current controller work for me, and they're there now, and they're not doing anything about money missing, it seems to me that their actions speak louder than my words. And when you have the facts on the table from the New York State Comptroller saying, hey, $25 million unaccounted for went out by wire transfer, unauthorized, no countersignature by me or the current mayor, you know, technically when I make a transaction, you know, going to buy food or it's over a certain limit, my bank automatically sends me a message. You know, $25 million is a big red flag. And it's unacceptable for the bank, New York State, Westchester District Attorney, Mayor Sean Patterson Howard, Controller Darren Morton, all to kind of just shrug their shoulders and say, turn the page. So what? It's the reason why we have such problems today. It's the reason why sewers are backing up in the police station. It's the reason why we can't pay our police and our fire. It's the reason why, you know, Mount Vernon can't be Mount Vernon because all the money's been taken away that we need to be a community. So I just know that if you're in charge of the community, you should protect the community. And right now it feels like she's protecting political interests or the people that took our money. That's what it feels like.
I interviewed the current mayor last week, if I'm not mistaken, and we asked her about financial issues, work that is being done in Mount Vernon. And she very specifically said that she's not interested in masking the problem. She's interested in a permanent solutions, things that will actually fix the problem. Because, you know, we can't mask it. Look, the problem's still there. You're just not seeing it, but it's still there. That's not the route she wants to go.
I mean, look, a permanent fix is to get the money back. So if you have the wire transfer, you know where it went. You know where the wire went. You know it was sent out unauthorized. You know there's me, I'm here, literally, and I'm telling you that I went to court, I interfaced with the bank over the years, I protested every single wire that went out. I said, don't do it, don't do it. Even though we have a contract with the bank that said they could not do it, they did it anyway. Make the bank pay. like tell them, hey, you owe this to Mount Vernon, and the people should not be forced to suffer an 8% tax increase, which they passed, from what I understand today, a 30% tax increase the year before, and 12% or 15% the year before. So all she's done is just raise taxes, and in my mind, those actions of raising taxes each year signals to me that she is somewhat saying it is okay for that $25 million to go missing, because she's making the taxpayers pay for it. If you just do the math, it adds up to take care of whatever was taken away from the retirement savings. And to me, that's wrong.
Taxpayers' budget passed. Did you have an opportunity to be there and speak?
Oh, no. I wanted the city council. So the way the budget works, everybody, is in Mount Vernon, there's a board of estimate, there's a city council. And it goes from the board of estimate, where the mayor presents a budget, and then it goes to the city council to allow the public to comment on it. The city council did not allow the public to comment on the budget, and it is a violation of law. When the public showed up to comment on the budget and give ideas like, hey, take away some of the budget from the mayor's travel so she can actually stay in Mount Vernon, and we can use some of that travel budget for the animal shelter, to keep them open in Mount Vernon. They didn't want to hear it. They literally said to the public, after posting on the city's website, the budget hearing is supposed to be Wednesday, December 28th at 7 p.m. That's what's listed on the city's website. People showed up, I showed up, and we were told, oh, that hearing was at 6 p.m. We noticed the public. And then when we tried to tell them, hey, the website says 7 p.m., it's 7 p.m., they said, oh no, we did that already, too bad. So I don't know under what circumstances or who put batteries in their back, but it's gross.
Are you saying that it was systematically done or purposely done in order to mislead the people? So when you showed up, oh no, you are an hour later, you cannot speak now, you should have been here at 6 o'clock. But how are you supposed to know that if it's at 7 o'clock?
That's the question that we're all asking. And I think that if, there are taxpayers in Mount Vernon, I know there are a bunch of concerned community groups about the property tax hike. I can totally foresee, the process being challenged, but I just, by their actions, it's clear to me that this administration and now this council, they don't seem interested in listening to people. They don't seem to be really interested in permanent solutions. They seem to be interested in political interests. And I think that's a bad decision on their part. And I know the voters of Mount Vernon will not forget that.
Are you running?
The answer
is you keep talking about the problem.
Right.
Now let's focus a little bit on the solution. Are you the solution? Are you looking into run and fix the things that you are talking about?
So the answer is Mount Vernon needs more than Richard Thomas. Mount Vernon needs the people of Mount Vernon to say enough is enough. And the last time I was in this type of position, Memorial Field had just been finished being dumped on, and the people rose up and said, no mas. So we're at that same point again, because it feels like, there are these corrupt political forces, there's this corrupt political machine that just wants to keep Mount Vernon down. And I feel that I'm being called to run for mayor again because the problems that I stopped. And I was structuring a path for Mount Vernon to really seize prosperity. It's been blocked by a group of people that just want to benefit from Mount Vernon being down. So the answer is yes, I'm running for mayor again, but I'm not doing it without the help of the people. And going throughout the city, from businesses to people on the street, it's a clear indication to me that Mount Vernon wants to be Mount Vernon again, not this Mount Vernon that we see being taken advantage of.
But now, Mayor, I have to be fair with my questions and ask even questions that might be uncomfortable to be asked.
Yeah.
I have to ask. Because people want to know, and maybe you can explain and give them an answer of why yes or why not.
Sure.
some people might say that your past legal issues might disqualify you from running again. Why should we vote for you if you talk about money mismanagement, but you did the same? Or some people might assume that you did, or whatever, but the question is there. Okay, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to look at the facts. And one of the things I will say is, in October of 2019, I did my first interview with Rue after I left office. And I invite everybody to go back and look at that interview and see what I said then and see what happened between when I said it and listen to what I'm saying now. I understand that, there's a lot of confusion around what happened to me. Rest assured, I take responsibility for any error that happened on my campaign, but it was clerical. It wasn't criminal. And when you look at $25 million missing today in Mount Vernon and nobody doing anything about it, they attacked the whistleblower. I was not a part of that nonsense because I wanted Mount Vernon's dollars and cents to go toward the people. And you could see it in my actions, from Slide the City to fireworks to circus to events all around town, bringing businesses in. Mount Vernon was named the third fastest growing economy in New York State, actually the second, when I was mayor. So the city was safe, the economy was growing, and if I made off with millions of dollars, I wouldn't be here right now. I'm here because I'm raising my family, I'm raising my children here, I want to be here, and just like every other resident of the city, we don't want to pay more in taxes, we don't want to have a higher rent issue to deal with, and that's what they've created since I've gone. So I know that, yes, they attacked me, but everybody that attacked me has dirt underneath their fingernails.
So there is a motive.
Oh my goodness, is there a motive? I mean, and I don't mean to keep going, but I just want to be clear, everybody. The initial person that attacked me was Eric Schneiderman, and he turned out to be a racist, alcoholic, woman abuser. That's fact. And when I tried to use that to defend myself, I was denied the ability to use the truth about him and all the other things that were going on to defend myself. So that was one thing. Another thing was, you can look even today, and it happened to Governor Cuomo. And this is where I want everybody to please just take one step back and look at the sequence and the process here. And you heard the Attorney General say this. Governor Cuomo issued a referral for her to investigate him. And the way the Attorney General's office works, a referral is required for them to investigate certain crimes or allegations. When it comes to election law, the State Board of Elections is supposed to say, hey, there are problems on your papers. We went through the process like a parking ticket and say, you know what? There's still bad stuff there. We're making a referral for you to be criminally investigated. And that happens by the Board of Elections having a meeting with their board, and they vote. Guess what? There was never a referral to criminally investigate Richard Thomas or his campaign by the State Board of Elections. The Attorney General's office just did it anyway. They just said, screw the law. We're going to get this guy because he's making too much noise about missing millions, dumping at Memorial Field, and think about it. Nobody was arrested on Memorial Field. 25 million totally gone, nobody arrested, nothing. Just the current administration's not doing nothing. So you just look at it and say, something smells funny here.
So would it be a fair assessment that to say that penny wise, dollar foolish?
No,
because look, in your case, it was a mismanagement, I believe, a couple $1,000s or something like that.
And it was my own money. I mean, I put money into my campaign.
But my point is, it was a mismanagement of a couple $1,000s. If it was, okay? If it was. Yeah. And some are making a huge deal out of it. Mm-hmm. But they making no deal out of $25 million missing in the city of Mount Vernon. Now, that money that is missing is money from the people of Mount Vernon.
That's correct.
But they don't say much.
Silent. They're silent on it.
But silence at all levels.
Yep.
Why?
I don't know. And what I can say is, it signals to me that the system doesn't care about the people. And that's where I say the people have to tell the system that we're going to make change regardless. And that's where I'm looking for people to come together over the next few months to make it clear that they want change in Mount Vernon to be permanent and they want it to last. And I think it's possible this go around because we've seen everything predicted come to pass. You know, again, 2019 October, I sat down with you and I said, look, there are deep financial problems. While no proof is out, the state audit was not available then. It's now available. It's clear. I was not only telling the truth then, I'm telling the truth now, and their actions from top to bottom signal that, you know, only the people can make the corrupt political machine accountable in Mount Vernon. That's the only thing that will happen, and I believe it's going to happen. When you look at the charter revisions that were made, 94% of the public want systemic change in the city. I delivered that. And not only did I deliver it then, I will deliver it again, and this time make sure Mount Vernon is beyond the political grips of this corrupt political machine.
I remember interviewing you a few years back.
Yeah.
Good 3-4 years, I don't even remember, a few years back. And we're going to make Mount Vernon moving forward. And you had the vision, the infrastructure, and many of the things that we are now starting to hear again. But that was actually your vision.
It still is.
And still is.
Yep.
So if you are elected next year, what will be the first few things that you want to tackle, that you feel like it needs to be addressed now? Not one more month, not one more year. We need to work on that now.
So the first thing is safety. You can't have a city without safety. We gotta protect the police who protects the public. So we have to work with the police to get stronger, get them properly funded, and under the right leadership. So that's first things first. Make the city safe. After we have safety, I will immediately reinstitute the Charter Revision Commission and have them begin the work of rewriting Mount Vernon's constitution, because we cannot have this system where everything is hide and seek and no transparency. So those are among the first two things I'll get going, because once we stabilize there and start the long-term work immediately, you will see the community come together to say, we don't want this political game played on us. We want to make sure that we have taxes held at a certain threshold no matter what. I mean, there are things that we can do through that commission that, again, have long-time effects, but the immediate is safety, safety, safety.
Police department. There is a mass exodus in the Mount Vernon Police Department.
Yep.
Why? Because they are the lowest paid, they don't have a contract, and it's a very high rollover. You need a stable police department in any city.
Yeah. With that, over 100 police officers left since Sean Patterson Howard became mayor. They're voting with their feet, just like residents are voting, they're leaving Mount Vernon because they don't want to deal with what has been happening. And I understand that. But the police department is one of our biggest assets, and they could do a lot better if we had better management and better leadership. It's very simple. It's not just a money problem, it's a priority problem. And I pointed to one priority, which was the overweight trucks. They were being ticketed, they were being held accountable for destroying our roads. Those monies were being allocated to fix the roads. But guess what? This mayor said no more. This mayor also said school resource officers, we're not paying for them no more to go into the schools. She took the police out of the schools, who were acting as advisors and guidance, role models for our kids. And what you saw was the loss of Kayla Green, who was bullied at the hands of her bully, who recently, who took her life, but recently took a deal to, responsibility, I guess, for her actions. But aside from that, we lost a daughter of Mount Vernon because the presence of a role model, someone providing additional safety, was taken out from the schools by this mayor. And in the world of active shooters, You want the police in the building to respond so we don't have another Uvalde on our hands or another, mass shooting that hurts kids. So the money was there, it's still there. It's just the priorities are being set by this mayor to expose the police to being, in jeopardy, which also jeopardizes them, but also the public. And that's where you look at the management differences, the decisions that were made, and you have to ask yourself, why? If there's money to fund the programs, why not provide safety and support to our police and our emergency responders?
Now, Mayor, you said now in the world of mass shooting,
Yeah.
but on the same token, we're saying that there is a max exodus of police officers.
Mm-hmm.
You think hopefully this will never happen, but if it does happen in the city of Mount Vernon, is the police department equipped and trained to deal with the mass shooting situation in a public school?
So the good news is, by law, they're required to train.
Oh, required.
They're required.
We know about
Oh, yeah.
Uvalde.
They're required. And I do believe that the officers that are still here that are putting their lives on the line will do the right thing and bring safety in order to a situation, God forbid it happens, in Mount Vernon. But I also know that there are other agencies around that will help the response
Mutually.
from the county and other communities, mutual aid, as you said. But my thinking is seconds matter when a shooting happens, and it doesn't take that long for a firearm to cause massive havoc.
And response is not instantaneous.
Correct. You have to get there.
Exactly. Mutual aid have to get there. And
Yep.
in those seconds to get there,
Yep.
a lot of damage can be done.
Right. And that's where it's like having a police officer in the building is very helpful to make sure that, you can start the response in an instantaneous fashion.
As you know, guys, before anyone says be respectful to the mayor and stop texting as you interview the mayor, because, I explain this all the time.
Yeah, no, you get questions online.
Exactly. I'm getting questions online, so I'm
Yeah.
monitoring
Yeah.
what the questions that are coming in order to ask those questions.
Yeah.
This question comes from Bruno Danny.
Sure.
He says, Yonkers Voice, ask him how he plans to deal with all the property taxes with unpaid taxes.
Oh.
There are many.
Oh man, that's a great question. So this is what I wanted to actually talk about at the budget. So after I raised the $25 million and suggested that Comptroller Morton look at his records, look at the wire, look at who it went to, and tell them to give it back, and tell the bank to do the same. There was a news story saying, we have 1,200 properties that haven't paid their taxes, and there's, we're not sure what to do about these 1,200 properties, but we're going to create an amnesty program. So one of the things that I wanted to tell the city council, and hopefully Bruno and everybody out there watching out will join me, maybe what the comptroller and the mayor and the council should do is look at that 1,200 block and say, okay, of the 1,200, there are 300 that just, you know what? They're bad actors. They got to pay. These 300 properties, we're going to sell the lien, a tax lien, on these properties and raise $15 million. It's possible. You can do it almost overnight. You have a collateralized debt. That's what mortgage companies do. That's what the stock market does. And if we need to get to Wall Street, I know a train station that we can take from Mount Vernon or even Yonkers if we have to go from either place, and we can get to Wall Street and talk to the professionals down there and say, hey guys, we have a portfolio, 300 properties. We're going to sell you the liens. Give us $15 million today. And guess what Wall Street will do? They'll take it. Then you have 900 left over that you can say, okay, you didn't get your tax bill on time because the former controller made an error. This situation happened to you. Then you could do the amnesty. But at least the 300 bad actors are being held accountable, right? You got $15 million in the bank, and the tax increases that we're crying about don't have to happen. But this is what I mean about the mayor not having a clue about what to do. She don't know what to do. She's just sitting there saying, hey, I guess I'm going to raise taxes again. And that's what she did. And the people in the city council, having no other option, and I'm doing air quotes because they didn't listen to the public when we were going to come and say, these are things you can do. They didn't want to hear it. So now it makes me wonder, who are they really beholden to?
We need, well, we couldn't finish this interview without talking about the latest missing money in Mount Vernon from the controller's office.
Yeah.
$25,000. I believe it has been returned, I believe. But do you have anything on that? Do you know anything on that?
It's another example of how the system could work. You know, $20,000.
$20,000, right?
20, at least $20,000. I believe there's more. But at least $20,000 was found to have been improperly transferred from the controller's office. Hello? And the bank and notified the police notified the city, the police then called in the FBI, which they're supposed to do, but I'm told that some people maybe asked the FBI to back off. I hope they don't. But the point remains, the bank returned the money. Once they said, oh, this was unauthorized, we're giving you back your money. I'm saying the same thing needs to happen with the $25 million. It was unauthorized then, it's still unauthorized now. The official recommendation cannot be turn the page, look the other way. But guess what? If you look at the state audit, in the summary, it says it's time for Mount Vernon to turn the page. That's coming from the highest level. And that's where I'm saying, look, all right, they feel that they have that much power and juice to make some of the authorities that are supposed to bring accountability, make them look the other way. If that's the case, then the people of Mount Vernon have to say no. That's where I'm saying, as I run, I'm not running alone, I'm running with the people. The people ran with me before. They got a great city. We had a great future ahead of us. But jealous politicians and greedy political corrupt machines said, we can't have Mount Vernon be a successful community because they're making lots of money. In fact, $25 million they made off with.
Just as a follow-up, Bruno, we asked the mayor about your question about the unpaid taxes. The mayor said $1,200. But remember, this is an interview. We don't have all the numbers on hand. It could be 1,000, it could be 1,200, it could be 1,500. But the point is how you're going to solve that thing, and how would the mayor suggest? So, more or less, it's about that ballpark. Would I?
I mean, look, I'm going verbatim of what Comptroller Morton said to News 12. He said 1,200. So that's the number that the Comptroller of Mount Vernon put out. And I said take 300 of those properties. I mean, look, you take one property, it could be worth $1 million. You're talking about 300 properties. I'm not saying that's 300 million, but I'm saying the liens vary in amount. For 300 properties, you should be able, at a minimum conservative value, get $15 million for 300 tax liens in a city. I mean, look, it's just, that's what Wall Street does. And that's what a mayor is supposed to do. He's supposed to take a problem like that and say, how do I solve it? And that's how you do it. You got to know what to do first. But second, if I didn't know what to do, I would have brought together the professionals from Wall Street, which I did before, to solve different problems that we have. But again, it's apparent to me that the people in City Hall are working against us, not for us.
Now, to some people, this might not be a problem, but to many other people, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Closure of the animal shelter. It was on a budget, but now there is a closure. I asked the current mayor about it. She told me, Ru, we are not closing the shelter permanently at this time. We're just trying to keep the dogs, the animals there in a safer place because the conditions of that shelter are horrible. And this is not a condition that was just created. This is something that's been in existence for many, many administrations. That includes your administration.
I'm trying to be respectful, right? I'm trying my best not to roll my eyes, but I did.
I'm just saying what she repeated. It's on record.
Yeah.
This has been going on for a while. So this is not something that just happened on my administration. Well, I saw the place and it was in terrible condition. So when you were mayor, what did you do to upgrade the conditions of that animal shelter? And why did it deteriorate so much? Why are the conditions the way they are now?
So first, the shelter rotted under Mayor Sean Patterson Howard. It was left to rot. And I want to draw everybody's attention to some real facts. One being, the city received $300,000 late in 2020 for the shelter. That money that the city received was never used for the shelter, even after Comptroller Reynolds left office. One. Two, $42 million was given to Mount Vernon by the federal government. Not one red cent of that $42 million was conceived of by this administration to go toward fixing problems that they created at the shelter. And I want to be, abundantly clear. Prior to the shelter being shut down, this administration shut down the senior center at the Armory. So they're treating seniors terribly. They're treating animals even worse. And when you go back to me, I say run the tape. When you look at what I worked to do, first, I adopted my family's first cat from the Mount Vernon Animal Shelter. When I went back to adopt another one, because Rex was his name, great cat, acted like a dog. He passed away in October after 15 years. Devastated my kids, my wife, me, and we were almost at the point of getting a dog too. We want a cat and a dog, but my kids aren't old enough yet. All right, a few years we'll get a dog, hopefully from the Mt Vernon Animal Shelter. But the point is, meaning it has to be open, but it will be open because I'll be in office. But nonetheless, the point is, I was turned away. And this is when the mayor said, oh, we're not closing it. Well, it was shut to me, and I'm the former mayor. So, okay, the average person, it's shut. And we were there, and I just want to emphasize that this is, again, the administration literally lying about the situation. They said there was going to be a hotline for the shelter. They said the shelter was going to be open 24 hours. People can bring their innocent animals to the shelter now. That's not happening.
Well, Mayor,
they shut it down.
I don't want to cut you off,
sure.
But I was told that the animal shelter was not shut down yet. The day that you and I were there, on the rally that we were there, we saw, you saw it, I saw it, people there saw it, it's on tape.
Yep.
Young lady did not know about the rally. She happened to show up because she couldn't keep her kitten.
Yep.
And she was turned away because the shelter was closed.
As the tapes were rolling, you go back to Yonkers Voice and see, it was shut. They turned away service. So, and that's what's happening in silence. And people are going to abandon their cats, their dogs, their rabbits, whatever birds they have. It's going to abandon it, and we're going to have Wild West already with the shooting going on. But we're going to have now random animals roaming the streets, attacking kids and seniors because there's no place for them to go to. So you just look at it and see the actions of this administration, even though having all this money in the bank, having all the support they need, hired a bunch of people, doubled salaries of people in their administration, but no money. It takes maybe $3,000 to hire an exterminator to stop the rat infestation. We're not talking about a big fix. We're talking about $8,000 to get the heat turned back on. And guess what? You have close to 200 people that work at DPW. These guys have various skills, and they have the responsibility of maintaining some of these buildings. So you don't need a survey, like she said. She said she needed a survey to be told to fix a shelter. She has reports from her employees that work at the shelter. The DPW guys that go pick up the trash, they all tell their supervisors, they tell her, and she doesn't listen. So it's apparent to me she ignored this problem, and she made it worse by following whatever political masters are telling her to do. Shut down the senior center, shut down the animal shelter. What's next?
So we cannot go further without giving a shout out to our good friend Virginia Spadavicchia.
Hey, Regina.
Virginia.
Big time, thank you.
Big time, an animal lover.
Yep.
Somebody who's been working tirelessly, to keep that shelter open. And she's very concerned with the health and the well-being of those animals.
And the Mount Vernon, Friends of Mount Vernon Animal Shelter too. between the two of them, it's been stabilized. And I worked with them back when I was having problems with getting the bills paid, worked with Pet Chester. I think, you know, I'm an animal lover. I own a rescue. So it's unconscionable to think that someone that loves and is enthusiastic about having rescues available to people with anxiety or having them in a safe, humane environment would not do it is ridiculous. I just know that this administration turned their back on it. I was working to expand the services at the shelter, build a new one. We need a spay and neuter clinic in Mount Vernon because we have a big city. And it's just a shame that this administration is continuously, you know, misleading the public on this issue. It's just stop. I'm more than willing to work with them on the animal shelter, among other things, but they have to have the desire to want to receive feedback from people that they don't technically agree with. I invited former Mayor Ernie Davison, and from time to time, he would tell me stuff. You know, he would tell me when I'm wrong for sure. But you listen because, you know, you're not just mayor for yourself or your political appointees. You're mayor for everybody. So that's where I say, you know, you can look and see very clearly that the way this administration operates is shady.
So Regina, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting for our fur friends. You love them. I love them.
Yep.
Former mayor does. So continue to do. Now, Mayor, anything else that you would like to bring up that you feel that people should know? Anything you would like to address?
You know, I think we went through a lot. I just hope that, you know, as all this happened over the holidays, just people don't let them take your joy. Know that, you know, this is a time where people are supposed to come together. There are a lot of people having a hard holiday. There are people that lost loved ones. I lost loved ones over the course of the past few months. So we're all struggling with something. And my recommendation and my ask to everybody out there is just, you know, let the people know in your life that you care about them, you respect them, you love them. Reach out if you need help. Don't hold back and don't retreat because, you know, there's a lot to live for. And that's my ultimate message as we go into this next new year. And as we get on to New Year, before we get there, I just want to, you know, give a special, you know, prayer for not just my city, but Shamoya McKenzie's family, because on New Year's Eve, it happened. We lost Shamoya McKenzie on New Year's Eve when I was mayor, and it's just a disgrace that, you know, the violence that has been allowed to filter through our community, it was checked, but now it's unchecked again in Mount Vernon, and I just hope that, you know, I wish prayer, strength, comfort for the McKenzie family and all the families that were affected by violence in Mount Vernon and all the communities around us. Don't forget to put them in your prayers as you go off to make your New Year's celebrations and celebrate with your family. So that's my message is to everybody, remember our lost loved ones.
I second that, Mayor. I was there that day covering that terrible story. Well, guys, Yonkers Voice, I have to say this, Yonkers Voice is not my voice. Yonkers Voice is the platform where your voice can be heard. We invite anyone, regardless of their political affiliations, platform, scope. We invite anyone to come and sit with us to inform the people, to inform those who are watching us where they stand, what they believe needs to be done. Everyone is welcome. If you want to be on Yonkers Voice, reach out to us at yv@yonkersvoice.com. We do not endorse, we do not oppose any candidate. We endorse the people of Yonkers, Lower Westchester, Mount Vernon. We are your platform. We focus on the things that really matters. And Yonkers Voice, I don't need to say it, but Yonkers Voice is the social platform, the largest social platform in Lower Westchester. We stay away from the gossip. We try to address the things that really matter. And I guess that's why people like Mayor and others choose Yonkers Voice to be the platform where they can talk to large amounts of people at the same time. This is the connection between those that seek election, those that get elected, and the people they represent. Thank you. Wish you guys a happy new year, lots of success, prosperity, good health for enjoying. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
To you and your family as well, sir.
Thank you. You as well.
Till next time.